Welcome to the Organic Wine Podcast. Hi, everyone. This is Adam Huss coming to you from Los Angeles. Thanks for listening. Allow me to introduce you to Supergay Spirits. This episode features Tom Jackson, one of the co-founders of Supergay, and we have a fun conversation about the premium vodka made from organic corn that is Supergay's first spirit, and the dedication to excellence that is masked by their playful branding. Supergay is a great example that we don't have to take ourselves too seriously to cause seriously good changes in the world. It's a pleasure to highlight people that are having fun doing something that they enjoy that is also positive and uplifting. Tom lifted my spirits, and I wasn't even drinking his vodka. His brand seems like just the thing we need as we head into this post-pandemic summer of 2021. We've grown, we've changed, we're maybe a little wiser, maybe a little more awake. And there is hope. We need to smile. We need to spread some joy. We need a little Supergay. Enjoy. Welcome, Tom. It's nice to talk to you. Welcome to the Organic Wine Podcast. Thanks for joining. You are the co-founder of Supergay Spirits, which is a fabulous name that we will get into. But can you talk a little bit about what else are you? Where did you come from? What is the inspiration behind what you're doing now?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I come from a interesting background. I've worked in publishing, publishing a queer magazine, and I've also worked in advertising, working on all kinds of different brands, building out, ad campaigns and brand identities. And Supergay came about because I lived across the street from a wine store that I used to go into a lot, and the owner at the time, Aaron, is my co-founder in Supergay. So when he had that wine store a while back, I used to go in there and chat about wine and spirits and all different things, and he was the one that actually came up with the idea and suggested it, and I thought, oh, that sounds like a really interesting challenge and interesting project and unlike anything else out there. And so we started to develop it together, and that was a couple of years ago, and then last March we launched it into the world.
So you have worked on the recipe for 18 months, and you also during that same time sort of worked out a branding plan, a marketing strategy, I imagine.
Yeah, that was a big part of the process of developing Supergay, was what do we want to be in the world, because it's easy enough to just make a vodka and throw it out there, but what do we want people to think about when they think of Supergay? We have a name that is sort of inherently very, very playful and very fun. And we were kind of having this push and pull of this word kept coming up, novelty. We didn't want to be a novelty because we thought that was a bad thing. But then I think as we started to kind of sort of examine what it means to be a novelty, it really means you're novel. It means you stand out. It means you're unique. And I think that really was inherently a big part of what we wanted to create. We wanted to create something that was unique and didn't exist. And so we started to lean into that. And that sort of opened up a lot of doors for us because it allowed us to have a lot of fun and be very playful and be really creative with, things like what the label looks like and our website and how we interact with people on Instagram and, all that stuff. So yeah, that was kind of a big part of the process of sort of developing who we are and what we want to be in the world. And I mean, a lot of it has just really evolved as we've started to grow and get in front of people and get feedback. But it's been a really fun process so far.
And I'm on your website, and the image is sort of like a Matisse-like face that could be, it's made up of multiple features. It could be almost drag. It could be male. It could be female eye, a male eye. That's kind of a fun little icon. What went into that?
We spent a really long time working on the design for the bottle. We commissioned, I think, at least four different artists to do things, do designs for the bottle, and this one that we finally chose was done by Blake Wright, and he's a really talented artist. I think he, if my memory serves me correct, went away for the weekend and maybe had an experience with some psychedelic mushrooms and drew a whole bunch of faces. And he had about, I mean, he must have had 10 different faces, and they were all so fun and also great. And then this was the one that just felt like it was the most appropriate for the name and for the bottle and for what we wanted to do. But hopefully in the future we can use some of those other faces for other releases we'll be working on.
Right, right. Because right now you're vodka, but I'm sure you have plans for other things in the future as well.
We do, yeah. Vodka felt like a really good one to get started with. It still is the largest, the most sold spirit in America. Tequila is obviously like nipping at its heels, but it's pretty
Yeah.
far behind vodka. Vodka is still a super popular spirit, and it felt like a really fun one to get started with, and to kind of redefine a little because it had got a little, maybe a little boring in the
Uh-huh.
past. People weren't really doing that much with it, so it felt like a really fun one to start with. But we definitely do want to work on other spirits, going forward. So yeah, stay tuned. We have other ideas that we're working on.
I love it. I just have images of like a Russian bathhouse and then some very uh colorful person leaping in like doing a cannonball is sort of like the emergence of your brand in the vodka market. Um
I like that description. Very evocative.
like wee splash and here we are. I love it. So well, what kind of things did open up? I mean, what kind of experiences have you had bringing this to market, or bringing it out into the world, like giving birth to your baby?
Well, it's been a long and arduous journey, honestly, because we worked on it for so long, in development. And sorry if you can hear the train outside my window.
Yeah.
I'm in I'm in Dumbo. It gets a little loud under the bridge. Um, but yeah, we it was a really long and arduous process to get going. It was really challenging because, obviously the liquor business is highly regulated and very complicated, and I think we probably both went into it a little naively about the red tape and the challenges that we would face. So it took a long time to get all our ducks in a row and make sure we were doing all the things needed to do. But now that it's out there, it's been very fun to watch the reception from people who are buying it, and a lot of people love to share photos of themselves with a bottle on Instagram because I think it's just a really fun
Yeah.
name and bottle to have. And that's been really fun to see. I think honestly, what has been most rewarding to me, and I'm sure Aaron as well, is just hearing people's response to trying the product, and tasting it. That was something that we spent a really long time, perfecting, was the recipe, and it's been really exciting to see people, taste it and really enjoy it, and just love it as a product as much as a brand.
Well, yeah, so I imagine people see the name Super Gay and there's probably some element that they think it's gimmicky in a way, like gimmicky marketing or whatever, and then they taste it and they're like, "Oh wait, this is like for real. This is delicious stuff." So, let's get into that. Like what tell us about the inception of, from where you source the ingredients and how you source that and why you source it that way, and you don't have to give away the secret recipe, but what went into developing it.
Yeah. Well, as I said, we spent a really long time on the recipe. It was really important that we were making a vodka that was as sustainable as possible. That's a really, important thing for both Aaron and I. But also something that tasted really delicious. So we spent a long time on the recipe. We basically did a series of blind taste tests of the 50 most popular vodkas that are on the market. And we got all our friends to blind taste test them until we could find the three blind most delicious vodkas. So without any branding or any marketing, what were the three that really just tasted the best? And once we had those, we then tested every recipe. We probably did 10 to 20 recipes until we could blind taste test and beat those three. And
Oh,
that
wow.
took a really long time, and a lot of drinking warm vodka, because if you put vodka on ice, it dilutes the taste and it tastes different. So
Right.
a lot of warm vodka, and it took us ages and ages to beat those top three. And once we'd done that, and we had one recipe that we were like, this is it. That's the one that we went into production, and so that is made from organic corn. We try and get the corn from local producers as much as possible, but if not, it's all American corn. So 100% organic, and then we do it in small batches at our distillery in Yonkers, in sort of lower upstate New York. And we filter it 3 times through activated coconut charcoal, which for us created the sort of smoothest, most interesting texture. We did a bunch of tests and did it a bunch of different ways, and that sort of created the most kind of clean but still sort of distinctly vodka texture.
Mm, love that. So it sounds like an arduous process, drinking tons of vodka, trying multiple recipes. Um,
It
why
is.
why did you go with organic corn? Do you think, I mean, is that a philosophical thing? Is that a flavor thing? Is that
Um, it's both. I would say it's flavor and it's also philosophical. I think for us, it just didn't make sense to use anything that wasn't organic. I mean, I pretty much only eat organic vegetables when I go to the supermarket. I only buy organic vegetables, and obviously at restaurants you can't always filter that so precisely. But if I'm only going to sort of feed myself organic vegetables, then the vodka that I want to make needs to be made from organic, sources, organic corn as well.
now some people would argue that because you distill it so many times and it's filtered, like who cares how it was grown? How would you respond to that? Especially in the spirits world. I mean, you don't see that many or made with organic ingredients.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair enough argument to say. I would just say also philosophically for us, it just feels like it's the right thing to do is to support organic producers, because I think we need more of them, and I think if all the fruits and vegetables and produce we were making was organic, um, we would all be a lot healthier and the planet would be a lot healthier. So it's sure. I'm sure the filtering process probably does probably filter out a lot of nasty things you don't want in there. But it just for us, there wasn't really any other option other than
Yeah,
to do
no,
it
I mean,
organic.
I mean, I'm sort of obviously playing devil's advocate against my own perspective, but my response to that is always that it's really not about me, it's about the planet. Like
Mm-hmm.
that choice for you guys to source organic corn means you are supporting acres and acres of cornfields to be grown without pesticides. So like
Yes.
whether pesticides get into your body or not is almost beside the point, because you are creating an environment that is free pesticide free by going organic with your ingredients.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Exactly. And that's the same reason for us. And also, a lot of vodkas use they add things to create a texture to the vodka.
Mm.
They put things in that aren't great for you, and that was an important thing for us to not ever be adding any nasty additives, just to be a simple in our ingredients list as possible, and not be supporting an industry that is sort of out of control with pesticide use.
I imagine. I mean, I know a little bit about vodka. You can use almost anything as a base for it. Why corn?
Um, you can use almost anything for vodka. That's the beauty of vodka. You really can make it out of beets and potatoes, and people make it out of grass and all sorts of
Right.
things.
Great.
Yeah, I think for us, corn is like a uniquely American grain, um, and it's just a really simple grain, and it just made the tastiest um, vodka for us. It just seemed to be the most appropriate for us when we were creating it.
So if you're working with corn and you're distilling it, how much further do you have to go to make a bourbon?
Well, a bourbon becomes a bourbon as you age it in a barrel.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't really have to go. You don't have to go that much further to make it a
So
bourbon. You just have to
is
let it
that
sit in a barrel.
is that in your future, perhaps, or
Well,
are you not even?
our distiller does make a bourbon and
Oh, okay.
a whiskey called Legs Diamond, and so they do the team we work with do know how to make bourbon and whiskey. Yeah, possibly. We have some ideas that we're working on, which I won't say because we're trying to keep them under the hood for
Yeah.
now.
Yep, I'm
Um,
with you.
but we have some interesting ideas. I will say that I think whatever we create next, we want to do things that are surprising and unique, and
Yeah.
not everybody is doing. I think
Well,
that's kind of a big part of our brand. So whatever it will be, I think it will be really really fun and really really delicious, of course, as well.
I'm sure. I'm curious because this is I have a very similar approach with Centralis now, and part of it for me is I don't think that I'm ever going to be a gray goose, in your world.
Hmm.
Like I'm not going to be that million cases of product sold. I think our brand will always be moderate to small, or small to moderate at this point, or micro to moderate at this point. And so you kind of like this is the way I've figured the only way to stand out is to do something that other people aren't doing. Is that part of what's behind it for you, or what is it for you? Is it a sales concern?
I think for us, it's this is our project that we can have fun with and we can experiment with, and I think we don't want to bore ourselves. We want to do
Mm,
things that are unexpected and push the boundaries a little bit, because that's what's most exciting and most fun for us to do. So I think that's a big part of it. We want to make a vodka that everybody drinks. That was definitely part of the intention. That's why we tried to keep our costs down and keep our price point to a very reasonable price point. It's around the same price as a Tito's or a Grey Goose. It usually sells between 27 and 29, which is pretty reasonable, especially for vodka made from organic ingredients. So we want to make something that everybody drinks, and that's kind of a big part of our journey, is to create something that you know maybe people you wouldn't expect to drink are drinking it. People who
mm.
maybe don't fit the demographic that one might think about when you hear the name Supergay. We want it to be a product that everybody can drink and everybody can enjoy.
Well, that brings up another question. I mean, did you make it for the LGBTQ community, or like how has that worked for you or against you having the name Super Gay?
Well,
That's
I
good. Two
think,
questions there.
yeah, sure. We're both gay, Aaron and I. So you know, so yeah, we thought the name was fun, and it is definitely. There are a lot of products out there that put a rainbow flag on their liquor and then try and sell it to the LGBT community. And we didn't ever want to do anything like that. That just seems cheap and tacky and, opportunistic. That was never our intention. It was to do something that was playful and fun. Um, if gay people want to buy it, that is great. Obviously, we give back a portion of our profits to community groups that work to help LGBT people, and that's been something that we've wanted to do since day one of starting.
Okay.
But it's a product that everyone can drink because it's just a vodka. Vodka doesn't have a sexuality.
Right.
It's a liquid. It doesn't have a gender or a sexuality, so everyone should be able to drink it and enjoy it, and they should drink it and enjoy it because it's really good quality, and it's a fun product that looks good on your bar or on your bar cart.
Yeah. So when did you start selling? When did sales begin for you?
We started selling in March of last year. So
Oh, perfect timing.
the perfect timing to launch a business just as the whole world shuts down.
I am right there
Um,
with you. Yep.
oh, really? Did you start
Well,
selling
we
at the same
started like
time?
September of 2020. So
Right before.
yeah. No, this past fall, basically, right in the middle.
Oh,
I mean, we
right in the
just that
middle.
was yeah, it was just the timing. It was when we, had bottled and planned to sell from 2 years. I mean, because with wine, you have this like year and a half to 2-year lead time, basically,
Yeah.
from when you pick the grapes to when you're going to be able to sell that wine. And once the train's on the tracks, there ain't any pulling it back to the station. So yeah, that was fated to happen regardless. But yeah, what has been your experience? Have you and what has changed in the last since this March? I guess I've noticed a difference. So I'm just curious what your last year has been like, and then maybe what the last couple months have been like for you.
Yeah, it was a really challenging time to launch a business in the middle of a global pandemic. We had initially thought we would reach out to on premise places, so bars and restaurants, but then they all shut down. So we had to
Yeah.
switch up the strategy at the last minute, and so we started focusing on off premise on liquor stores, and honestly, it was really challenging at the start because we hadn't, it was a whole new plan, but honestly, it worked out well. It was really well received by liquor stores, and people were drinking more at home. People were ordering a lot more delivery from liquor stores, so the sales really did increase a lot in liquor stores, and so it was a good time to sort of partner with a bunch of liquor stores and get it in front of people, and it it was really well received in those first 6 months. Now that everything is opening up in New York, we're starting to work with restaurants and bars, and that is really exciting and really exciting to be able to go and visit them and see it behind the bar and
Yeah.
have that experience that we haven't been able to have. And then also expanding in the last few months. So we just launched in California, which is
Oh,
very
fantastic.
exciting.
Congratulations. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's that was always a big thing for year two, was for us to go into California. Year one, we were always going to focus on New York, and then year two, focus on California. And so we're right on time for that, and that's really exciting. We launched there with Skronic Wine and Spirits, who have started working there, I think, pretty recently. I think we're one of their first brands to go over there with them. They represent us in New York, and yeah, so that's been really fun. And then also New Orleans, Louisiana, we've started selling in, and then hopefully in Massachusetts in the next few weeks.
Oh, fantastic. Um, so that was going to be my next question. If you were just in New York right now, it looks like you can on your website, supergayspirits.com. It looks like you can buy bottles. Do you ship everywhere?
We ship, yeah, everywhere. Most states in the US. We work with a company called Pay, and they work with retailers. So we're essentially just sending traffic to retailers through the
Got it.
website. It's similar to what Minibar and Reserve Bar and a few of those other companies do. But yes, we do ship to most states. I think there's a couple places that we don't ship to right now, but most places you can get a bottle from ordering through the website.
And what was the name of that service that you use for the shipping?
Um, they're called a Cell Pay. They're a small startup.
How do you
They
spell that?
launched. I believe it's ACCELPAY.
Okay, great. I mean, there might be some listeners who are in a similar spirit and looking for a solution. I know that in wine, there's something called Vino Shipper that tons of startup wineries are using now to handle their interstate shipping because it deals with all the compliance and everything. Um, that's very cool. So I don't know anything about labeling of vodka, but with your organic ingredients, are you allowed to say that on the bottle? Do you say that on the bottle? What are the restrictions around that you've learned about?
We are uh, we are allowed to say yes. We are allowed to say made from organic ingredients. We're not allowed to say have the certified organic label, um, because then I believe the whole distillery has to be certified
Right,
organic,
right,
um, which is, it doesn't change the product, it doesn't change the
right,
ingredients or the product
exactly.
you get, but it's sort of another level of certification. I think it's similar to the kosher certification that is like, every single device and thing in the place has to be certified kosher. Um,
Right, yeah,
so yeah, so that's why I believe it says, yeah, sort of organic ingredients is what we say.
got it. Okay, great. And there's more than just corn and water, I imagine, that goes into it, but not much else is what you're saying.
There's pretty much nothing else. Yeah,
Okay, got it.
yeah.
All right. That's lovely. Well, I mean, what do you hope somebody who's looking at Super Gay as a alternative to their vodka would think about, and what would you want people to think about when it comes to your spirits and brand?
We want people to smile when they think about our product. We want people to look at the brand and and feel good and feel like that we're very approachable, and that we're fun and that we don't look like everything else on the shelf. We did a lot of research into every, not just vodka, but every other spirits brand on the planet. Basically, we had a
Wow.
giant Pinterest board of all the different kinds of categories that a lot of the brands sort of slot into, and there is a bit of a there's a sort of seriousness to a lot of small batch spirits brands. There's this kind of like
Yeah.
prohibition era, ye olde kind of vibe to a lot of
Yeah.
them. You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we kind of wanted to push against that because that's not who we are as
Right.
a brand, and so we wanted to stand out from that. We wanted to be a little more colorful. We wanted to be a lot cleaner, a lot simpler, and a little more fun. So I think that's probably the biggest thing we want people to take away from the brand, that we're fun, we're approachable, and also that we're really well made. We're a good quality product that is going to be delicious in your cocktails or even be delicious over ice, which is how I like to drink it.
I love that. I mean, as a wine drinker, I mainly have in the past used vodka as a sterilizing solution on winemaking equipment. And I am now inspired to actually drink some. Super
That's
gay.
that's a good that's a good use. I heard once on Kirstie Alley, from Cheers, that when
Yeah, yeah.
she was a cleaning lady when she was younger, she used to use like really cheap vodka as a cleaning to clean
Absolutely. No. I
houses.
and I'm not lying at all. Like that is like in many wineries you'll see bottles of like Pop Off or some cheap
Yeah,
vodka you fill spray bottles with to like rinse off equipment that touches wine because it's like
yeah.
the perfect thing.
Well, I think, a lot of people have that perception of vodka because it is, traditionally a tasteless and odorless spirit. And so I think a lot of people, not a lot of people, but many people don't have the most sort of positive connotations to vodka when they think about it. A lot of people maybe drank it in college and drank too much of it. And, so it has a reputation. I think for us, it was, can we kind of, redefine or reestablish that reputation as something that you would want to sip, that you could just sip on ice like you would a tequila, because a good vodka, if it's really well made, and this is not just speaking about our vodka, but many other vodkas that are really exceptionally well made, they are really nice to sip on the rocks, and they are very versatile and can be used in a lot of ways.
Well, that leads me into my final question, which is, can you give us some drinking advice, whether it's the best way to feature super gay, other than obviously, I mean, are there things that you now know as a vodka insider that is sort of like being a pour over barista, like a real coffee snob, where the temperature at which things should be prepared and served, and the size of the ice cube and the ratio of whatever to whatever. You know what I mean? Like, can you, are there any like high tech things that you like, if somebody wants to get really geeky about their vodka drinking, that you've learned and can share?
That's a really good question, and honestly, Aaron, my co-founder, would probably have a better answer than I could come up with. But I can give it a go. Um, I think I think but my favorite way of drinking vodka, as I said, is on the rocks. Like, I really really love sipping it. If
Yeah.
it's a really well made vodka, it is truly delicious on the rocks.
Mm.
Um, I think you want it to be cold. It's not something you want to sip. It's not a whiskey that you could sip without ice. I think vodka does taste best with ice. Um, when I'm looking for a vodka, someone that isn't my own vodka, I'm looking for something that has a little bit more of a texture to it, and a bit more of a mouthfeel. A lot of vodkas that aren't well made, they can be very thin. And so I would say, if you're drinking a vodka that tastes very thin and too sharp, it's not a very well made vodka. A well made vodka will have some texture to it and will have a very pleasant mouthfeel. And so that's what I look for, um, when I'm thinking about a vodka. But vodka can be drunk. A good vodka you can drink in a million different ways. It mixes beautifully in cocktails. Um, you know, it's great. It's great on its own if it's a really good vodka. Yeah, there's a lot of it truly is a very versatile spirit.
Do you have a favorite cocktail right now in your life that you would recommend? Something new you've discovered that you want to share?
Well, I learned this recipe the other night to make a watermelon shrub with vodka.
Okay.
Um, and so it's a watermelon blended with a little bit of Tabasco,
Mm.
and some vinegar, light vinegar, not too much because it can overpower, and then that mixed up with vodka on the rocks with a little bit more lime juice. It's kind of like a margarita, but with vodka.
And
Um,
vinegar. Wild.
yeah. Well, vinegar in the shrub, like, it's a watermelon shrub, so you make a big batch of it, and so it's not a lot of
Okay.
vinegar. It's just a little bit.
Gotcha.
Um,
Gotcha.
and I made that the other night. It was really delicious.
That reminds me of probably like the best vodka drinking experience I've ever had, where I was a friend who worked at a restaurant and had me come after hours, and they had a big giant container full of watermelon that was just soaking in vodka, and there was a tap at the bottom, and it had been soaking for
Oh,
days. And
amazing.
so it was, I mean, it turned out to be way too drinkable, as it turned out. So the night ended quickly after the restaurant, but the best tasting beverage I'd had at that moment. It was delicious.
Oh
But that,
yeah,
yeah.
watermelon vodka is so fantastic together. The other thing that I really love is vodka and champagne. Vodka and
Oh,
champagne is just, again, way too drinkable.
Ooh.
and way too
Okay.
delicious and goes down real quick. But it's such a good combo. I think they used to on Absolutely Fabulous, the British TV show. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but
Sure.
they would
Yeah.
they would
Absolutely.
call it they would make that on the show quite a lot. And
Was there a name
that's
for that?
um
Breakfast. In their
I don't
case.
know. It has different names. It's like you could call it a bolly super gay. It depends what champagne you use with it. But yeah,
I love it. I love it. Oh, that's good. Is there a ratio for that? 50-50 or just whatever you feel like?
I would say 30 70
Okay.
more
70.
70-30 more champagne than vodka.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got it. All right. So like a shot and a flute and then fill it the
yeah,
rest of the way with champagne.
yeah, yeah. Perfect.
Nice. Love it. Well, that's fantastic. Well, Tom, thank you so much. I want you how what do you want people to do in terms of take action? Do you want them to visit your website, go like start following you on Instagram? What I mean, tell us all the ways that we can get to know Super Gay a little better.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for taking an interest in the brand. And it was a great conversation with you today. So I really
Thank
appreciate that.
you. Thank you.
People can go to our website, supergayspirits.com. They can follow us on Instagram. It's at Supergay Spirits. And then you can hopefully find us in a store near you. More coming soon.
Soon, yeah. Do you know where you are in Los Angeles, for example?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
We're only in a couple places right now. We're in one called
Yeah,
High Low Liquor in Culver City.
that's very close to me. Yep.
Oh, amazing! And then we're
Yeah.
also in the Epicurean Trader in San Francisco, Bitters and Bottles in San Francisco, and Good Spirits we're in San Francisco. We're in quite a few in San Fran.
Nice.
LA's just getting started, but hopefully a bunch more soon.
Well, Hilo is a great place. You are well featured there. That's very cool. And if anybody wants to know where that is, it's in Southern California, near enough. It's basically Washington Boulevard near National. Actually, somewhere between National and La Cienega. I don't know what the cross street is, but yeah, yeah, that's a great place. I think I might be heading there when we get off here.
Oh, well,
Yeah, I'm heading that direction. So
hopefully they have it in the store already. Let me
yeah.
know if they do or they don't.
Well,
They just placed their order yesterday, so
oh,
hopefully.
okay. All right. Well, I'll definitely check in. So maybe I'll have to go back. But that's always fun for me anyway. So it's a win-win if they don't
Yeah,
have it. I'll get to come back.
fantastic.
Thank you so much, Tom. I really appreciate this. This is great.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate getting to speak with you.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I really appreciate your time and attention as well. And if you did enjoy that, please give us a review. That's positive, ideally, because we do this for free and it helps to get the word out. We're just trying to spread the word about people doing great things. So thank you.